I think he should get engaged because he's getting older.
It's a tremendous change for someone, if I may say, of 19 to make all of a sudden, the transition.
He was getting old. And the Queen had said to him, "Isn't it about time you settled down, Charles?" One day I told the princess that the prince was out. The prince found out. I'd been talking to the princess, thinking I'd been gossiping to her. He called me into his library. "Your Royal Highness, I hear you've had a conversation with my wife. Well, why are you talking about me being out last night?" "I'm sorry, Your Royal Highness, but you were." "Well, can't you lie?"
Why did you know you wasn't told?
I don't think it matched what Diana had expected.
It's now the 31st of August, the late hours. I just returned from the theatre. And the phone rings. It's Lucia Fletcher de Lima, the Brazilian ambassador's wife in Washington. She said, "Paul, CNN have just reported the princess is in an accident in Paris. Can you find out more? You've got her mobile number, I don't have it. Ring her." So I put the phone down and immediately rang the princess's mobile phone. And it rang and rang and rang. In the summer of 1980, the Queen told me that a young girl was coming to stay for the weekend. "Will you meet her at the front door and show her a room?" "Of course, Your Majesty." So I'm standing in the front hallway of Balmoral Castle under black and white tiles, waiting for this car to arrive. And out of the car comes a shy young girl that nobody knew who she was. She had one little suitcase in the back. "Is that all you've brought with you? You're here for the weekend. You have to go to hunting, shooting, you have to go to the Gillies Ball, tea parties, lunch parties, and that's all you have." She says, "Will it do?" I said, "I think we'd better take you to a room and find out." I showed her to a room. "Will you stay for a while and have a chat with me? I'm completely out of my depth," she said. So I stayed. "What time do you go down for tea?" 4 o'clock. You go down to the small drawing room. The Queen will pour you a cup of tea. "I don't like tea." "I'll make sure she has coffee there waiting for you." Then what happens? I said, "When tea's cleared, you go into the drawing room. And then the Queen will pour you a gin and tonic." "I don't drink." "I'll make sure there's a glass of water there for you." Then what happens? Then the Queen plays cards on her card table. "Do you play bridge?" "Yes." "Then make sure you're sat at the card table to play bridge with the Queen. That's a good way to get to know Her Majesty. Then the Queen will take the dogs into the garden. Maybe you could suggest you went for a walk with her. Also a good time to get Her Majesty's ear. That's what you want to do." This young girl was fascinated by this routine of royal households. And as I closed the door that day, I noticed the name on the door, Lady Diana Spencer.
Is there any possibility of any announcement of your marriage in the near future? Can you tell me? Can you tell me if there's any possibility?
But I'm not going to say anything, babe.
Right, but Prince Charles did give us a hint himself. He said we wouldn't have to wait too long. He said we wouldn't have to wait too long. Was he completely off beam? Was he? Sorry. Was he completely off beam when he said we wouldn't have to wait too long?
In February 1981, the waiting was over. Buckingham Palace announced that Prince Charles and Lady Diana were engaged. The ring was a sapphire surrounded by diamonds. The couple looked happy and relaxed, delighted, like everyone else, that a wedding would take place.
Well, Diana Spencer, as she was, is probably one of the most insecure people I'd ever met. And I think from her insecurities, and she was also a real mixture of being completely naive and yet worldly wise. So she was a barrel load of contradictions. I mean, Diana could be several people in one day. And I think one of the reasons that people are so fascinated with her still is that she was a different person with different people. I take that to be part of her insecurity because she wanted to please the person she was talking to. She wanted to tell them what they wanted to hear. And so she was always different, so she was always fascinating.
It's good, it's great, isn't it? Cheers everybody up, you know, to something like this. He's getting on a bit, isn't it? About time we got married.
I think it's really great.
Why have you come here today?
To try and get a glimpse of Diana and Charles.
Wonderful. Perfect. Couldn't be better.
Why are you so pleased?
Because I think she's just the right person for him.
Do you find it a very daunting experience that yesterday you were a nanny looking after children? Now you're about to marry the Prince of Wales, and one day you would, in all likelihood, be Queen. It's a tremendous change for someone, if I may say, of 19 to make all of a sudden, the transition.
It is, but I've had a small run up to it all in the last 6 months. And next to Prince Charles, I know I can't go wrong. He's there with me.
I think he should get engaged because he's getting older.
It's a tremendous change for someone, if I may say, of 19 to make all of a sudden, the transition.
He was getting old. And the Queen had said to him, "Isn't it about time you settled down, Charles? Isn't it about time you made us grandparents?" So his time was right when Lady Diana Spencer came into his vision. He'd also courted her older sister, of course. Sarah had been a suitor, and on Diana's wedding day, her sister, Sarah, turned to her and said, "I thought all this was going to be mine one day, and now it's yours." There was sibling rivalry in the Spencer household. Diana wasn't meant to achieve. The fact that Diana became Princess of Wales, probably future Queen of England, was beyond the Spencer family to comprehend. It wasn't for her to achieve.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here in the sight of God and in the face of this congregation to join together this man and this woman in holy matrimony.
Charles Philip Arthur George, wilt thou have this woman to thy wedded wife, to live together after God's ordinance in the holy estate of matrimony? Wilt thou love her, comfort her, honor and keep her in sickness and in health, and forsaking all other, keep thee only unto her, so long as ye both shall live?
I will.
Well, I think after they got married and they went on their honeymoon, I think even then things were starting to unravel a bit, because I don't think it matched what Diana had expected. She had this vision of being like a fairy princess and being carried away into the sunset. But the minute she was married, her husband was off working. I mean, it was, you know, he's always been a very hard worker, and he was devoted to his duty. And on the honeymoon, she was so in love, but he spent a lot of time reading books, which she didn't really quite understand. I think on the honeymoon, it was when her bulimia, which she was already having a problem with, really took hold. And she just, you know, she was on this enormous yacht, Britannia, surrounded by like 200 crew, and yet she was on her own, and she didn't know how to deal with it. She was too young and too naive, and Charles was on the upper deck reading and sunbathing, and she was lonely.
In the early days, Diana's light was small, but he began to shine brighter and brighter and brighter. And it was a sort of a Star is Born situation. Prince Charles would say to her, "While I married you, I made you a princess. You weren't born royal. I'm the royal." So it would peeve him when on royal visits, people would be shouting on one side of the street, "We want Diana, we want Diana." And I think in some interviews, he actually did say, "I wish I could split my wife in half to do both sides of the street, because they don't actually want me." This is a man who's been born to be king. This is a man who has been treated from the very beginning as a god. Suddenly being eclipsed by this woman, he wasn't very happy.
Well, Charles was so used to having all the attention on him, which it had been since he was born. He didn't like the idea that they walked down a street, say when they were doing a royal engagement, and the crowd were calling, "Diana, Diana." So he felt surplus and didn't really know what to do with himself, and made lots of sort of rather pathetic remarks like, "There should be two of me, and if I cut myself in half." I mean, he didn't know what to do or say, and yes, it was a form of jealousy, yes, it was.
I've come to the conclusion that really it would have been far easier to have had two wives. To have covered both sides of the street. And I could have walked down the middle, directing the operation. See, look.
I think after Harry was born, the relationship seriously broke down. It was, it just hadn't worked out.
And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means.
Yes.
Well, it
you can
obviously
put your own
means,
interpretation.
obviously means two very happy people.
It was impossible to do this balancing act between the prince and the princess, the prince during the week and the princess at the weekend, and then have someone else pop in to this ménage à trois. It was incredibly difficult because the princess would ring me up from London and say, "Where's Prince Charles tonight, Paul? Where's the Prince of Wales? He's out for dinner, Your Royal Highness. Where is he? I've no idea. Of course you know where he is. You always know where he is. Who's he got for dinner tomorrow night? I hear he's got a dinner party. Who's coming? Don't ask me. Please ask him. Don't put me in the middle." I suddenly found myself as Piggy in the middle, trying to please both. It couldn't work. One day I told the princess that the prince was out. The prince found out. I'd been talking to the princess, thinking I'd been gossiping to her. He called me into his library. He rang his bell. I went into the library, stood there. "Your Royal Highness, I hear you've had a conversation with my wife. Well, why are you talking about me being out last night?" "I'm sorry, Your Royal Highness, but you were." "Well, can't you lie?" "You're asking me to lie about you not being in residence." "Yes, why did you do what you're bloody told?" And he picked up a book and started to stamp on the spot. Why did you do what you're bloody told? Like a petulant child, and he hurled this book at me across the room. I dodged and missed it, and I thought, you know, I think my time's up. I think it's time I got out.
I think Diana was terrified. She says she was. And she looked for Charles. She was looking. They went to Annabel Goldsmith's. It was a big party on probably on 3 or 4 floors, and she looked around, "Where's Charles? Where's Charles?" And then she realized that he must be downstairs on the lower level in the sort of basement area. Not a basement like we know, but a very glamorous downstairs rooms. And she went down there, and there they were. And then she decided, and then, you know, she obviously got this real anger, because you'd have to be very angry to do that, and brave. And she just confronted Camilla and said, "You know, I'm not stupid, I know what's going on." So Camilla must have been completely taken aback. I mean, you don't expect that to happen. Diana was shaking with fear and rage. On the way back in the car, she was just in hysterical tears. And her protection officer, Ken Worf, was with her, and so he confirms all this, that she just sobbed all the way home, and I don't think Charles said a word.
But I think that was the turning point, really, of the relationship, because, you know, soon thereafter, I think Diana had then given up any hope of a reconciliation. But I suppose, you know, Diana wasn't stupid, and she thought, well, look, you know, I'll go and see what this is like, because they would be people that she was completely unassociated with. These weren't her friends, these were all friends of Camilla's. So, you know, if you try and put yourself in that position, would you go to a party when you didn't like any of them? So there had to be a raison d'etre here, I guess, and I think Diana wanted to see for herself.
The only secret Diana ever kept from me was the Martin Bashir interview for Panorama. I was sent home on a Sunday afternoon. Strange, I thought. Why would she be sending me home? Go and spend some time with your family. I'm doing nothing this afternoon. Don't worry about me. The next morning I came to work. I noticed all the furniture had been moved. Why have you moved the furniture? It's not in the same place. I had a dance class. I had to move the furniture out of the way just so that we could exercise. Strange, very strange. She avoided me for the next 2 days. never spoke to me. And then she told me that she made a recording with Martin Bashir for Panorama. What have you said? Well, I just put the record straight, she said.
I think every strong woman in history has had to walk down a similar path, and I think it's the strength that causes the confusion and the fear. Why is she strong? Where does she get it from? Where is she taking it? Where is she going to use it?
Something like 31 million people stopped in their tracks on that Monday night and couldn't believe what they were seeing. The Princess of Wales bearing her heart on national television. We couldn't take our eyes away from it. We couldn't believe what we were hearing.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
Prince Charles wasn't always kind to the princess. In fact, sometimes he was quite cruel. I remember one occasion she came downstairs wearing a beautiful black and white Catherine Walker gown. And she said, "Charles, I've had it made specially. Do you like it? You look like you belong to the mafia," he said, which cut her down to her knees. And then on one occasion, she came down in a tartan dress and said, "Do you like this one? Where you look like a British Caledonian stewardess." It was always undermining, just before an engagement began, so that she would lose her confidence. So it was mental cruelty in a way. I never saw any physical violence. I saw tables being upset. I saw crockery being thrown across the room, but I never saw any physical violence. It's interesting to note that her family, her blood family, were never there for support. Her mother was never there. She only wants a seat in Wimbledon. She only wants the best seats in the best restaurants in town. That's why she wants me, Diana once told me. Then on one fateful night, I heard the sobbing coming from her room. She was breaking her heart on the telephone. She's shouting, "Paul, come quick, come. Now, please, now." So I ran up the stairs and she beckoned me to sit cross-legged with her on the floor. It was her mother on the phone. She'd just done an interview with Hello magazine. She wasn't very happy with the princess's choice of boyfriends, and she made that quite clear on the telephone by calling her daughter a prostitute and a whore, whoring Asian men around town. What did that look like for the Spencer family? "Please, Mummy, don't say those things. Please don't call me those names. Mummy, please." She was sobbing. She says, "If you don't stop, I'm going to put the phone down. And I won't speak to you again if I do that." She says, "Mummy, this is your last chance." And of course, Mrs. Shankid continued. So she put the phone down and she turned to me and said, "Paul, I'll never speak to my mum again for as long as I live." And she didn't.
In the summer of '92, a recording of Diana speaking to one of her friends, who actually was her lover, James Gilby, appeared in one of the newspapers. The transcript of this recording was unbelievable.
Frankie said to me today, she said, "I sat next to Nigel Haver the other day and all we could talk about was you." And I said, "Frankie, how awful for you?" She said, "Oh, don't worry, it's the Admiration Club." A lot of people talk to her about me, which she can't help.
No.
Her at all. But
I tell you, I think she's desperate to tag on to your coattails.
Well, she can't.
No, she absolutely can't. I'm going to make that quite clear.
If you want to be like me, you've got to suffer.
It was an extraordinary, explosive moment. And really, there was very little that the Queen could do after that. Had been out in the public domain. I think they were both very sad. Diana, in particular, never wanted to get divorced. In her heart, although she was with another man. You know, Charles was the one that got away, and she always had a place in her heart for Charles. And it wasn't what she wanted, and she felt a failure. They both felt they'd failed. And they both felt they'd failed their children. So it was very, very sad for both of them.
Yeah. Do you think Di was worth it? Is Di worth 17 million? You can still comment, can't you? I mean, would you pay your wife 17 million if you got divorced?
Oh, well, probably if I had it, I would, yeah.
Very surprised at that. I thought it was a very peculiar way of doing it. On the face of it, it was rather discourteous to the Queen. But Princess Diana is very good at manipulating the media, and it may well be that she did it like this to show that she could do her own thing, and also to give her a stronger bargaining power over the title that she wanted to have, and perhaps over the nature of the divorce settlement when it comes.
Behind closed gates at Kensington Palace, the princess was said to be deeply upset at making and declaring the decision to end the marriage. It could happen swiftly, meaning a leap year divorce. So as the public read the papers, the royal lawyers set about reading the small print. What has yet to be worked out are the complicated details of a divorce.
She's got the house, Kensington Palace, which Prince Charles has always wanted to get back because he's stuck, poor fellow, in St. James's Palace. And she has got the children, and obviously there's nothing going to change. She's got the money from Charles to keep up her lifestyle.
I think Diana wanted to get married again, and she wanted to have another child. Again, I think getting married again probably was a bit of a fantasy. Certainly getting married to the doctor that she was in love with, or thought she was in love with, was a fantasy, because it would never have worked out. It couldn't have worked for him. But she did want to get married again, very much so. She didn't want to be single for the rest of her life. And in a way, I think she wanted to find someone that could work with her. In a way that it was what she'd hoped for when she married Prince Charles, is that, well, a little later in their marriage, when things were going well and they were doing things together, she sort of thought, she said to him, we could really change things together, the power of the two of us together. And that's what she wanted. So I think she wanted to marry someone who had the same humanitarian outlook as her. Not in a Harry and Meghan kind of way, but in a very simple way. She wasn't going to talk in riddles, and she wasn't going to give a lot of speeches about what she was going to do. She was going to get out in the field and do it.
She found her soulmate. Her soulmate was Hasnat Khan, the heart surgeon, not Dodi Al-Fayed. Hasnat Khan had been the princess's companion for over 2 years. Nobody knew about Hasnat Khan. That was not played out on the world stage. Whereas, after they'd broken up, the princess was invited to the south of France by the Mohammed Al-Fayeds. She met Dodi Al-Fayed. Did you know that the romance of the princess and Dodi Al-Fayed was 30 days from beginning to end? It only lasted 30 days. That was not the love of her life. That was not the man she was going to marry. That's all fabrication. I spoke to her regularly when she was away. Have you seen Hasnat? I said, yes, I went for a drink with him last night. What does he think of me being here in the south of France with Dodi Al-Fayed? Well, he's not too pleased. Has he seen the pictures in the papers? Yes, he has, because you know his routine. You know every morning he goes to the corner shop and sees the press. You know that. And I know that's what you're doing. You're manipulating the world's media by having these pictures taken to show Hasnat who you're with. It's sort of a... Are you jealous?
It was the era of the pager. And at about 1 o'clock in the morning, this pager danced across the wooden floorboards where I was sleeping. And I spoke to Chief Superintendent in my office, and he said, thanks for calling. He said, got some bad news. I said, oh, I bet it is. And he said, no, your boss has died in Paris. I was thinking, well, why is he telling me the commissioner of police has died in Paris? I couldn't work it out. I said that to him. He said, no. He said, the Princess of Wales has been killed in a car crash in Paris. Then it did sink in. And my immediate reaction was, well, that's impossible. You know, she can't die in a car crash.
This is BBC One. We've interrupted our programmes for a news report.
Diana, Princess of Wales, has been seriously injured in a car accident in Paris. Her companion, the Harrods heir Dodi Al Fayed, has been killed.
French radio is saying that the accident happened in western Paris when the car she was travelling in collided with another vehicle in a tunnel. The princess is reported to have been taken to hospital. There is no news of her condition, and as yet the report is unconfirmed. It's now the 31st of August, the late hours. I just returned from the theatre. And the phone rings. It's Lucia Fletcher de Lima, the Brazilian ambassador's wife in Washington. She said, Paul, CNN have just reported the princess is in an accident in Paris. Can you find out more? You've got her mobile number. I don't have it. Ring her. And it rang and rang and rang. And I thought that's strange because in those days, mobile phones were in their infancy, but she always carried it with her. I didn't know that it was just ringing out on a marble top inside the suite at the Ritz in Paris. I had no idea where this phone was. First, we'd heard the princess had had head injuries and broken her arm. And then at 2 o'clock in the morning, we heard that the injuries were more serious than they first thought. And it wasn't until about 3 o'clock that they told us that the accident had been fatal. And I was on the first flight to Paris the next morning. So early Sunday morning, I arrived in Paris and was taken straight by the British ambassador, taken to the hospital. And I remember going into the elevator and the elevator doors opening on the first floor and looking down the corridor and seeing 2 gendarmes stood outside of the door. And I thought, that's where she is. So I was led, not to that room, but to the room next door, where I waited for a while with an Anglican priest and a Roman Catholic priest. Nurse Humbert was the French nurse on duty, small, petite nurse that could only speak broken English. And she came to me and said, Paul, would you like to go in to see the princess? I said, yes, I would. I stared for a while in disbelief, and I watched the fan whirring on the side of the bed table. And as it moved the princess's hair, and I could see her eyelashes moving. And I took her hand and said, wake up. You're asleep, aren't you? Wake up.
What I say to you now, as your queen and as a grandmother, I say from my heart. First, I want to pay tribute to Diana myself. She was an exceptional and gifted human being. In good times and bad, she never lost her capacity to smile and laugh, nor to inspire others with her warmth and kindness. I admired and respected her for her energy and commitment to others, and especially for her devotion to her 2 boys. I, for one, believe there are lessons to be drawn from her life and from the extraordinary and moving reaction to her death. I share in your determination to cherish her memory. I hope that tomorrow we can all, wherever we are, join in expressing our grief at Diana's loss and gratitude for her all too short life. It is a chance to show to the whole world the British nation united in grief and respect.
Thousands upon thousands have stood here in the last few days, patiently waiting in line. And there's no let-up in the numbers coming to St James's Palace to pay their respects and to write in the books of condolence. The rain comes in heavy bursts, but it doesn't dampen spirits. In fact, it strengthens a feeling of camaraderie. Everyone here with one common purpose.
I think she did a lot for people, and she gave a lot to people. I think it's evident here, really, just looking around at the number of people that want to give their time, because she did care.
I'm here, I guess, to think about who she was and why I feel such a void inside ever since I heard the news.
There's tea down at the end at the Harrods stand, and there's water and orange juice and things coming up and down later.
After 3 hours, a cup of tea is more than welcome, as the queue slowly snakes its way along the Mall.
We're here on request of the chairman, Mr. Al Fayed, and we're all Harrods staff and volunteering to be here, and we're going to be manning the station until midnight tomorrow night, just before, right up until Saturday, basically.
The Salvation Army and WRVS are here too, helping to keep people warm. The hours seem to merge into one. All the time, people joining the queue. In fact, by 10 o'clock, it's even longer than it was when we started at 7. Everyone's determined to stay, however long it takes. And suddenly we find ourselves nearing the front of the queue. Difficult to believe this group of newly found friends have been here 5 hours, shuffling slowly towards the room where a family's thoughts will be focused.
Well, it's midnight and we've just reached the hour to go mark, and from here there's no cameras allowed. But in a way that's a good thing, because it gives everyone a chance for some peace and quiet to think what they'll write in the books of condolence.
Still haven't come up with the words.
And at 1 in the morning, we entered St James's Palace, away from the glare of lights and flashbulbs.
The atmosphere from outside changes when you get inside. Everyone's in thought deeply and they just don't know what to write, and you can just tell they're all upset.
You covered the page in seconds and wished there was more room to write.
Yes, there was certainly an aura, a feeling, a presence. Yeah, and you're right, 6 hours was nothing in comparison. It was a very memorable event.
It didn't even feel like we had been waiting. I got choked up.
I couldn't believe I was there, really. Just to see all those people with all those books. Just sums it up. What a person she was.
And as they gave the order to pull away, I remember bowing. I remember bowing for the last time. And saying, "Goodbye, Your Royal Highness." Because that in my eyes, she was always Your Royal Highness.
In the past 12 years, I can honestly say that one of my greatest pleasures has been my association with people like yourself. During those years, I've met many thousands of wonderful and extraordinary people, both here and around the world. The cared for and the carers. To the wider public, may I say that I've made many special friends. I've been allowed to share your thoughts and dreams, your disappointments and your happiness. You have also given me an education by teaching me more about life and living than any books or teachers could have done. My debt of gratitude to you all is immense. I hope in some small way I have been of service in return.